welcome back to my channel, where I talk about things I like, regardless of whether anyone else wants to hear it. I'm really glad you're here because I'm about to give my unsolicited American opinion on a European cultural event that has no effect on me whatsoever, but that I have a lot of thoughts about. I apologize in advance for the way my voice sounds. My allergies are just refusing to get better, and I'm tired of putting off recording, so I'm just gonna fight through it. But before I do, I want to just give a very confused but very heartfelt thank you for the response to my first video. I'm aware that I just got really lucky on the timing of that video, but that doesn't change the fact that people still stayed to watch it and thought it was good enough to give a like or a comment or a subscribe. I was genuinely not expecting that kind of a response, and I am so grateful to everyone who was a part of that. That's nuts to me. It's really cool that people just want to listen to me talk about stuff, and I really hope you continue to enjoy what I make. On that note, this is not a video essay. I am going to be making more essays, I promise. That's my favorite thing to do, but to be honest, I made this channel just to talk about stuff that I enjoy. I wasn't expecting to have this kind of reaction to my first video. In fact, I wasn't really expecting to have an audience at all. I was just kind of making an essay because I thought it would be fun and I wanted to. And it was fun. So while I am thrilled that you are here and I am so thankful for the over 2,000 subscribers, that is insane to me. I'm just gonna stick to my original plan of making things that I enjoy first and foremost. I apologize if you were waiting for another video essay and instead you got this. I promise I'm going to be making more essays and retrospectives and things like that in the future, but right now I'm doing stuff I want to do because I can and it's fun. And today I want to talk about Eurovision. I love Eurovision. Like, really love Eurovision. Kind of a ridiculous amount for an American who only got into it this year. Because I already had it planned, regardless of how the first video turned out, I'm going to make you sit through a thorough review of every Eurovision entry from this year. Because I can. So if you don't want to hear me give my unsolicited opinion on a bunch of Europeans for an hour, leave now. Now, as I'm sure a lot of y'all know, this year was the worst possible year for me to get into Eurovision. I really got thrown into the deep end. Ouch. But today, we're not examining all the drama and controversy surrounding this year's competition. There is a place for that, but it's not here. Enough people have talked about it already in videos far better than I have the patience to make, and to be honest, I just want to focus on the artists. Because with all the controversy that happened during this year's competition, a lot of very talented artists were overlooked in favor of all of the drama. And as much as I love drama, I think that's really sad. So if you're looking for a deep dive on all the drama and controversy that went down this year, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but this is not that video. It's just me giving my thoughts on people far more talented than I am. So, here's how this will work. I am not about to rank 36 countries numerically. Numerical rankings are hard enough for me as it is. I am way too indecisive. And when I enjoy this many entries, I'm not going to give myself that headache. Instead, I'm going to go through each country alphabetically, saving my top 10 for a numerical ranking at the end. Each country will receive up to 4 points each in 3 categories for a possible total of course, 12. Clearly, I have thought this through way too much. The categories are song, so how much I like the actual song itself. Staging, how well I think it's staged, taking into account things like choreo, design, costume, how well I think it complements the song. And performance, so how well I think it all comes together in the end and how good of a job I think they did. I do have each country timestamped in the description, but that will kind of spoiler who my top 10 is. So if that's something you care about for some weird reason, I guess you're just stuck here for the whole video. Sorry. Now, a very important note, my top 10 is not a technical score ranking. It's reserved for the entries that resonated the most with me personally and brought me the most joy. So you're probably going to see a few entries with higher total scores that didn't make it into my top 10, just because my top 10 is a very personal list, as you're soon going to see. It was really hard to narrow it down to 10, and this is the best way I could come up with that didn't have me just re-ranking the list constantly, so I apologize for how messy this is. Now, one more disclaimer that is a little bit more on the serious side. You may have noticed I said 36 countries instead of 37. That was not a mistake. One country has been left out of this video, and believe me, I did not make that decision lightly. I really went back and forth on the best way to do this, and I finally decided that the best course of action to take was to not include Israel. And I know that decision is going to make some people upset, but the truth of the matter is, no matter what I do in this situation, it's going to make someone upset. That's just not something I can avoid. I can't please everyone, and this is the decision that sits the best with my conscience. I actually did write a review for Israel, but when I went back and reread it, I realized that I could not remain objective. I couldn't divorce my feelings about the overall situation from the entry itself, and that didn't seem fair. It also didn't feel fair to the other artists, knowing what went on behind the scenes at Eurovision this year. And I also just don't want to give a platform to the kind of negativity that I know that review would cause. I am not an expert in international politics, but I do know that the kind of negativity and vitriol I saw from the online Eurovision community this year over all the nastiness that went down is just not something that I want to invite into my space. I cannot, in good conscience, include an entry that I know is going to feed into that. And like I said earlier, I really want this video to spotlight all of the artists who were overlooked in favor of the drama this year, and we can't do that if we're spotlighting the artist who caused the drama to begin with. What I am including is a link in the description to an article spotlighting 11 independent Palestinian musicians. I especially think the first artist on that list, Rasha Nahas, is really cool, but you should check out everyone on that list. They're all very talented. I chose to include this link instead of a charity because, number one, charities are easy to find if you want to donate to one. And number two, not everyone has the means to donate to a charity, and you can support an artist just by listening to them. And I believe that art matters. So I really recommend checking out that article. It is an older article from 2021, I believe, but I think most of the artists on there are still active. One more thing, and I promise this is the last thing before we get started. Please keep in mind that these are just my personal opinions. Art is the most subjective thing in the world, and my opinions might not and probably won't match up perfectly with yours, and that's fine. When I do reviews of things, I am honest, sometimes brutally so, but it's never meant to be a criticism against the artist themselves. There is no personal criticism here. I have immense respect for all of these artists. They worked incredibly hard, and I'm so proud of them. I just think some of their stuff sucks. I highly encourage you to go stream all of these songs, watch the performances on the artist's page where possible, see what you think, and give these artists the attention they deserve. You might find your next favorite performer. I know I certainly did. Thank you all again so much for watching, especially for watching this incredibly long intro. And let's get to our first country. First up, we have, representing Albania, Besa with the song Titan. This entry placed 15th in the second semifinal with 14 points, meaning it did not advance to the grand final. There's not really a lot to say about this first entry, which kind of sucks because this is my one chance to hook you on this video if I didn't already lose you with the intro. So thanks, Albania, for being so incredibly mediocre. I appreciate it. This is a power pop song about being strong in the face of adversity. There is nothing new or interesting about it. I have heard the same song 100 times already, and what really annoys me is that it sounded so much better in Albanian. In the national final, it was actually sung in Albanian, and it flowed a lot better and was a lot more listenable. But as often happens, when it was translated into English to give it a better shot at Eurovision, it lost a lot of that flow. It just becomes very clunky and kind of cliche. So Titan gets 2 points from me for the song, and those 2 points are really for the song in Albanian. The staging. Now, once again, the national final was so much better. They did more with less. Bass's costume doesn't match the aesthetic of her dancers in the Eurovision version, and frankly, it just doesn't fit anything. The national final version looked better not only on her, but with the song. I'm also just never a fan of videos of dancers, especially when we have dancers on stage already. It's just a mess with no central idea and nothing fits together. So, 2 points for staging. It's not egregiously bad, but it's nothing special. It's just not great. Performance. Now, once again, Bass's performance makes me kind of sad because she was clearly so much more comfortable singing in Albanian. Her voice sounds fine, like her singing isn't bad. It's just clear that she's very uncomfortable and just doesn't really seem to want to be there. She has very little energy, just kind of passionless and dry. It's boring and it's sad because I know from the national final that she can do so much better than this. That performance was fantastic, and this one is just kind of, 2 points on performance for a total of 6. Not bad, not great. It's just kind of there to fill time. Sort of like this part of the video. But that's okay because Armenia is here to bring the party with Ladaniva's Žako. Žako placed 8th in the grand final with a total of 183 points, 101 from the international jury and 82 from the public televote. Not a bad placing at all. Žako is one of my favorite songs from this year. It's a super fun dance anthem with a strong folk rhythm that incorporates traditional Armenian and Indian instruments and beats with very bouncy vocals for this energetic and uplifting experience. The structure is a little chaotic, and I wish that we got another verse or two, but it's a strong 3 points for me. I love this song. Staging that incorporates the country's culture is always going to win points with me, and staging that centers the band is also a bonus. I love how the instruments are showcased, the colors and the lighting effects, everything looks great. The traditional costumes aren't competing with the loud visuals, and they stand out really well in contrast to all the patterns going on stage. Jacqueline also looks so cute in this outfit. She's killing it. A perfect 4 for staging. The performance is also really strong. The band works beautifully together and hypes each other up. They're clearly having a blast up there. Jacqueline Bogdasarian's voice is very playful and sassy, but it's powerful. Her yells and ululations are clear, and her stage presence is fabulous. I'm obsessed with her little whistles and shouts. It's amazing how her voice can go from this innocent, almost childlike sing-song to these strong yells when she's ready to hype up the audience. It's just an infectious performance. Another perfect 4 for a total of 11 points from me. Great job, Armenia. I love you. I think you deserved better than 8th. And our next entry is one that I think shocked a lot of people, myself included, with how badly it did. It's Australia with Electric Fields and One Milkali or One Blood. This song came in 11th in the first semifinals with 41 points, just barely not making it through to the grand final. And it was really the upset of the night for a lot of folks, like I said, myself included. I was genuinely shocked this song did not make it. Like, I would have bet money this one would have gone through. One Milkali is an important entry for Australia. It's an uplifting exploration of unity, and specifically the long overdue potential unity of Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. It's also the first Australian entry to Eurovision to incorporate an Indigenous Aboriginal language. Now, I really like this song. It's very well mixed and produced, high production values. I love the incorporation of the didgeridoo. I think that's beyond cool. It does get a little repetitive after a bit, and I think the lyrics could have hit harder, especially considering the subject matter, but that's a very personal opinion. I love the instrumentation and the upbeat synth. It's a great song, very playable. 3 points for me. Also, I'm sorry, but someone has to say it. Michael Ross is probably the most Australian-looking dude I have ever seen. Just need to put that out there. The staging is very nice overall. I love how the lighting invokes a galaxy, and I think the reddish-orange color palette is very reminiscent of the Australian outback, which is a cool touch. The video doesn't feel like it distracts from the live singers, which is always a risk with this kind of thing. Now, the backup singers kind of come out of nowhere in the middle and feel a little lost on stage. They just kind of bop around looking lost, like they don't really seem to know where they're going or what they're supposed to do. However, this guy right here, Fred Leone, he steals the show with that didgeridoo. It's beautiful to see traditional Aboriginal dancing and singing. Also, Zachariah's costuming is gorgeous and ethereal, one of my favorite looks from the first semifinal. Staging gets a solid 3 for me. Now, I've got mixed feelings about the performance itself. So, first of all, Zachariah Fielding has a very powerful voice, but it sounds really rough. There were a lot of notes that sounded strained or entirely off. He attempts a lot of riffs and belts that don't really pan out and end up kind of hurting the overall sound of the song. But his stage movement is beautiful, and it complements the costuming and lighting effects wonderfully. Backup singers are, again, totally lost on stage. I don't know where they went or what they're doing. They just kind of walk out like they're on a runway. And I mean, they look fantastic. They look great. But they don't really seem to have a job on stage other than to walk around like it's a runway. This performance is a 2.5, technically, from me, because I just cannot unhear some of those notes. I'm sorry. But I'm rounding it up to a 3 because I know Zachariah can sing and he can hit those notes. I really don't know what happened here. I have no explanation for it. A total of a very solid 9 points to Australia. I liked this one a lot, and I'm still kind of sad and baffled that it didn't go through. Another entry that did not deserve to come in as low as it did. Austria brings us Colleen with We Will Rave, a certified Eurodance banger. This song came in 24th in the grand final, so next to last, with 24 points. 19 from the jury, and 5 from the public televote. A very surprising outcome in my opinion, because I don't care. I love Eurodance. I'm not going to apologize. Y'all remember Nightcore? So this song channels that 90s Nightcore energy in the best possible way without feeling too dated. It's just a loud dance party song, and that's all it wants to be, that's all it pretends to be, and it leans into it, and I respect that. It's 3 points for me. There's not a lot of variation, but it goes hard, and it kind of reminds me of Rockefeller Street. This staging leans into the rave energy so hard and does not let up. The hooded jacket in the beginning is a little cringy. It's there for like 3 seconds, and it's not even a costume reveal because you can still see the bodysuit, but whatever. The choreography is fantastic, but so much. I mean, look at these dudes. Look at them go! Colleen's costume is peak 90s techno, and the silver works so well to complement the lighting. She's never lost on stage, despite it being fairly dark. The chaos is clean, and the pictures on stage are clear with beautiful silhouettes and sharp lines. The choreo lends itself very well to that energy too. It is fantastic staging. It does lose a point for me though, simply for being really hard to watch. I remember watching the finals live, and during this song, I actually had to turn my face away from the TV every little bit because it's just so much. There's so much flashing and strobes. It's just very headache-inducing. It's hard to watch. But other than that, it is good staging. A very solid 3 points. Now, the performance. This is a hard song to sing live. There's very little room for breath, especially while doing that much complex dancing, and Colleen kills it. The beats and buttons are sharp, everything sounds and looks great. 1 or 2 beats are a little off or a little short on breath, but I'll forgive it just because of how much is going on, especially with all the spinning this girl is doing. It's an incredible performance from a technical standpoint. Her attitude and energy are on point. And I think Colleen is just incredibly cute. A very strong performance and a full 4 points for a total of 10 for Austria. 24th is too low, Austria. You did great. And then we have whatever this was supposed to be. Representing Azerbaijan, the song, oh boy, Ozunle Apar? There is no way in hell I said that correctly. I am so sorry. By Fari, featuring Ilkin Dovlatov, which is a super fun name to say. This came in 14th in the first semifinal with 11 points, and we're soon going to see why it failed to advance to the grand final. So I actually had trouble writing a review for this song because I kept zoning out while watching it and taking notes and having to restart it. Do y'all remember those Pure Moods albums from the 90s? Yeah, that's what this is. Even the incorporation of Mugam singing, which I don't think I pronounced correctly, but I loved in Azerbaijan's 2008 entry, can't make it interesting because there's not enough emotion or meaning in the song to back it up. I've heard the same thing done 1,000 times. It is as unmemorable as it gets. There's a place for this kind of background music, but it's not at Eurovision. A single point, and I'm sorry, but I almost didn't stay awake long enough to give it that. Look, I don't like staging that's just a video, and that is all this is. And the video isn't well animated. The model looks so janky. I mean, look at those wrists. There's no real attempt to interact with the animation or make it look like anything other than just a moving background. Also, Farid looks like he's wearing a 10-year-old's attempt at a homemade Darth Vader cosplay. It's not terrible, but it's not good. It's just boring. 2 points. Now, the performance is the strongest part of this, and even then, it's not fantastic. Farid has a nice, calming voice. I really do like his singing, and the Mugam is lovely. But there's no real performance to speak of. They look just as bored standing up there as we do watching it. Another 2 points for a whopping total of 5. And the final nail in the coffin for this one is they interviewed Farid either before or afterwards, and he said something to the effect of, "Oh, the performance is a continuation of the music video. You have to watch the music video to understand it." I'm sorry, I'm not doing all that extra work to understand your performance. That's why I like, say, Finland. There's no extra context needed to understand that this guy likes jorts. You don't have to do any homework. I'm bored, you're bored, let's move on. Another big upset in a lot of folks' opinions, Belgium brings us Musti with Before the Party's Over, which took 13th in the second semifinal with 11 points. A lot of people were shocked by this one not qualifying because there was a good number of folks who thought it could win the whole thing, for some reason. I disagree heavily, but I was still pretty shocked that it didn't go through just because of the massive amount of support it had online. People loved this guy, and they still do. Now, I don't really have a lot of thoughts on the actual song itself because, controversial take apparently, it's just kind of boring. The majority of the song is build up to the hook, which, while strong, doesn't pay off super heavily. It's not something I would ever choose to play or listen to, and I just don't think it's all that special. I'm sorry. So, 2 points, I guess. I'm really sorry. Don't come for me. The staging is very reminiscent of the music video, which I usually like, but it doesn't do a whole lot. The abundance of microphones right here is very meme-worthy, but it's also the centerpiece of the staging, and that being said, it's utilized too early so that we get tired of looking at it pretty quick. The whole thing is just messy. It's not sparse enough to be impactful or busy enough to be interesting. It's just kind of there. I do, however, love the costuming. I think the body jewels and the white robe go together beautifully. Glitter is hard to use in a way that feels new or unique, and I think it's used very well here. The bright costuming and all of the reflectiveness that we have going on also looks really good with the fog effects. 2 points to staging. It is really good for how otherwise forgettable I think the song is, but it's not especially memorable in any real way. Now, the performance, however, is excellent. Musti is a strong singer. He knows exactly when to let the volume loose for maximum impact, and he does a great job keeping interest on the stage with very little choreography or movement. There's not a lot to interact with on the stage, but he does a great job with what he has, and his stage presence is very likable. I just like his vibe. I think Musti's cool. 3 points for a total of 7, which I know is going to upset some folks, but I'm sorry, this is just not one of my favorites. Take a look at yourself, 'cause that is what you need to do. I'm so glad Britney Spears is doing well. Cyprus's entry, Liar by Celia Kapsis, had a very strong start and it kept that momentum going. Coming in 15th in the grand final with 78 points, 34 from the international jury and 44 from the public televote. 24 points of that total came from Greece, to the shock of absolutely no one. Liar is a radio-friendly dance pop song. Nothing particularly new or exciting, but it's listenable and I do enjoy it. It's not one I'll go out of my way to play, but I don't hate it either. It is very repetitive though, which cements it as a dance track first and foremost. Now, Liar loses points with me for kind of an interesting reason, and that is false advertising. Supposedly, this song is about unrealistic expectations set on young people by society and social media in particular, but that's not what you get from the song at all. It's just another pop breakup song. Read the lyrics. And it's okay to write a simple pop song. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't try to make it more than it is. 3 points, but a very solid 3 points. I do like this song. So this staging feels very uniquely pop concert in a way the others really don't. That's not a good thing or a bad thing, it just is what it is. It's a dance performance before anything else, and I think it does hurt the song a little bit, especially if we're trying to make it have some kind of meaning. Everything from the outfits to the stage effects are there to highlight the dancing. And the dancing is great, but again, this is a pop performance. The dudes throwing off their shirts at the end is peak 2000s boy band nonsense. Like, you lose a point just for that. This would not have been out of place in, like, Miley Cyrus's early career. I do love how well the video effects flow with and complement the dancing. That's the kind of video effect I like to see. 3 points for staging. Now, performance. Celia has the pop star vibe, energy, and dance skills needed to pull this off. And doing all that while singing live and singing well is certainly impressive. It isn't my favorite type of performance, but credit where credit is due. She and her crew did a fantastic job, and it is a lot of fun to watch. So, 4 points for performance for a total of 10. Great job, Brittany. I mean, Celia. Now, this entry is a personal upset for me. Czechia with Aiko's Pedestal. This one failed to qualify, coming in 11th in the second semifinal, so just missing it with a still not unimpressive 38 points. I really like this entry. I like the sound, I like the vibe, I like the message. I like Aiko, and I'm sad it didn't make it to the finals because it's a very solid entry. So, Pedestal sounds like a mix between Blondie and Paramore, and I am here for it. It's a punchy post-breakup anthem that's really catchy and one of my favorite songs to come out of this year. Sampling sound bites is always kind of risky, but the one in the middle is perfectly utilized and ties the two halves together beautifully right before the bridge. It's got all the pop-punk sounds that I love, and I just think it's a great song. So, a little controversial, but a full 4 points. This staging is just about perfect. We have this really cool thing going on in the background where we're looking in on different relationships playing out in the windows of an apartment building. And during the fight and the soundbite in the middle, we focus on one window, which then cuts to static. I love that. The choreography is great, it's just enough without being too much, and the choice to have Aiko dancing with and opposite from dancers who are styled to look like herself is really cool. Another full 4 points for the staging. Performance-wise, this is very solid. Aiko's voice control is theatrical and confident. It probably could be stronger in places, but I think the roughness complements the rock-inspired feel of the whole thing. Also, Aiko is just so cute you can't help but to love her. Another 3 points for a total of 11. I really do love this entry so much. One of my favorites of the year, and it almost made it into my top 10. And now for Anakin Skywalker's favorite song of the year. Denmark was also kind of a shock non-qualifier for a lot of people, I think because it reminds some folks of Tattoo. Not so much me. I don't hear it at all. I think it's just kind of the overall aesthetic that reminds people of Loreen, but whatever. Anyway, Denmark sent Saba, the first queer woman of color to perform at Eurovision. So, you go, Saba, with the song Sand. Sand came in 12th in the second semifinal with 36 points. And oh boy, it's another pop ballad. Great. I really like Saba's voice, I do, but the song is just very basic to me. There's nothing new or fun or groundbreaking to see here. I don't hate it, but it's not going on a playlist or anything. 2 points for me for the song. I don't hate it, I just don't particularly like it, and I don't really have anything interesting to say about it. I'm sorry, it's just kind of one of those. Now, the staging I actually really like. I loved watching this just for the staging. Ballads are hard to stage in an interesting way, and this one does a great job. The theme is strong, Saba is styled wonderfully and looks powerful and beautiful. It's actually impressive how fun this is to watch, considering Saba stays in one place throughout the entire song. The heartbeat lighting effect on her chest near the end is really cool, and I kind of love the dumb sand gimmick. It's a very odd choice to have a video of Saba playing in the background while she's singing right there, but the rest of this is fantastic. It's very atmospheric and really builds a world for her to perform in, which I'm always going to love. A full 4 points for staging. Really fantastic. Saba's performance is also fantastic. There are moments when her voice slips or feels a little weak, especially on lower notes, but overall, her vocal performance is one of the most consistent. She's a confident performer, and she looks and sounds great up there. Now, the weird Grogu arm dancing thing, I'm not really getting. It's like she knew she needed to do some kind of movement and just got stuck doing that. But overall, a solid 3 points for performance for a total of 9. I do really like this entry a lot, even if I don't love the song. Oh, I have been waiting for this one. There are some Eurovision entries where you don't have to look to see what country sent them, you just know. France is one of those. Representing France was Slimane with, I couldn't make this up if I tried, Mon Amour. He came in 4th in the grand final, an extremely impressive ranking and certainly not one I would have given, with 445 points, 218 from the jury and 227 from the public televote. Look, I do not understand it at all, but I have to give the guy props for bringing something this aggressively stereotypical and still placing that high. I think that's pretty impressive. And big shocker, it's another sad, overdramatic breakup song in French, complete with heartbroken cries of and "Come back to Paris." Yeah, the lyrics "Come back to Paris" are actually in the song. There is not a single thing I like about this song. Like, not one thing. It is overdramatic, cheesier than a soufflé au fromage, and honestly just annoying as hell. I am not at all ashamed to go against the popular vote here and give it one single, very painful point. I do enjoy laughing at it though, so I guess it's good for something. This is possibly the cringiest staging of the year. I know I'm not the first to make this joke, and I won't pretend to be, but it's giving dead wife flashbacks at the beginning of a Sundance Film Festival entry. I already felt violated from the aggressive eye contact, and then he booped the damn camera like it was his pet French poodle, and I just lost it. The entire staging, if you can even call it that, relies on this guy dramatically harassing the cameraman, and while there is a level of clever intimacy to that decision, it's just vaguely uncomfortable. Like, not even vaguely, it's just uncomfortable. I would have vastly preferred Slimane climbing up the Eiffel Tower in a beret and scarf combo, maybe with a handheld prop like a baguette or a croissant, with some mimes doing interpretive dance in the background. Maybe that could have saved it. Anyway, 1 point for staging. The performance. I know it's controversial and I'm not supposed to say it, but I am not and have never been impressed by belting. Sure, Slimane has a fantastic voice, but standing 6 feet away from the microphone and screaming out an entire chorus a cappella just to prove that you can seems like a little much. So even though that probably should have earned him points on performance, it actually lost him points from me. Quite a few points, actually. I think it takes away from the song rather than add to it. and this song desperately needs something added to it to make it listenable. He does, however, earn a little bonus point from me for his little act of rebellion during the finals rehearsals. I think that was pretty cool of him. 2 points for performance. I recognize he is a fantastic singer. I just don't like this kind of performance. It annoys me. It hurts my ears. I don't like it. I'm doing editing at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just realized I did not say France's point total. And because I'm really nitpicky and way too serious about this, I have to say it or else it's going to drive me crazy. So France got 4 points. There you go. Look, I'm sure Slaman is a nice guy. He genuinely does seem like a sweetheart, and I'm sorry that I hate his song so much. I also have to give him respect for just being so unapologetically French. Like, there is no way in hell this guy didn't know that what he was doing was incredibly obnoxious, and he just ran with it, and look, I have to respect that. As an American, I have to respect the commitment to obnoxiously patriotic stereotyping. Oh boy. Next up, it's Georgia, bringing us Firefighter by Nutsa Butsaladze. I really hope I said that right. I don't think I did. This entry came in 21st in the grand final with 34 points, 15 from the jury, and 19 from the public televote. Now, Eurovision is known for its cliches, but I think there is one cliche that we do not talk enough about, and that is the overuse of the word fire in all languages. There's always got to be one or multiple entries that have something to do with fire and won't shut up about it, and it drives me crazy. I'm a fire sign. I like fire. I think fire's cool. I picked Charmander as my starter just like everyone else before I realized that Bulbasaur was in fact the superior option. But my god, if I never have to hear another Eurovision song about fire, it will be too soon. And Firefighter isn't even a particularly good one. The lyrics are so confused. How many conflicting fire analogies can we put into one song? Are you a phoenix or a firefighter? Or a tiger? It's just another cliche-filled power pop song with nothing especially interesting to say. And as I've said before about cliche power pop songs, that's fine, it's just not my thing. So, a single point for the song. I've heard the same thing done so many times before, and all of them were better. Well, most of them were better. Now, I'm a little harsh on the staging, despite how much I do like it, for the simple reason that I'm tired of fire-themed stuff that can't settle on one type of fire. Which I realize is a nitpick, but it's my review, I get to be nitpicky. Just like the song, you can't just throw every mention of every fire-related thing together and call that a theme. Pick one. We've got the sun, we've got flames, we've got volcano vortex-looking thing. All these different types of fire symbolize different things, and I just wish that we as a society would stop generalizing fire symbolism. But that's me getting too deep on something that doesn't really matter, so I'll move on. The lighting design is fantastic. All the props to the lighting team on this one. I love the costume. The gold does for Nutsa what the silver did for Colleen. It looks beautiful on her, and it works so well to reflect the colors used in the lighting. Some of my favorite choreo is in this performance, too. I'm always a sucker for this arm thing right here. I don't know what it's called, but anytime a group of dancers does this, I'm going to love it. 3 points for staging. I do really like it. Nutsa's performance is fantastic. This is a hard song, and she sounds great. Her energy and power are non-stop, and it's just a very solid performance. But, like I've said before, I don't like showy belting. It's just not my thing. I think it can be okay sometimes, but there comes a point when it just sounds like pointless screaming. It hits my ear wrong, and that might just be me, but it's always going to lose points for me because I just find it very painful to listen to. Which, again, just a me thing. But still, 3 points for performance. For a total of 7. Look, from here on out, the only fire-themed thing I will accept at Eurovision is Fire Saga. Oh, Germany. I feel bad for you. I really do. Germany's entry this year is Isak with Always on the Run. This came in 12th in the grand final, which, honestly, one of the biggest placement shocks of the year for me. To be fair, 99 of those points came from the international jury, and only 18 points came from the televote, which should tell you everything you need to know. Now look, I love how this song tells you exactly what you're getting right off the bat. It starts with the line, "I am nothing but the average," and then does nothing to dispel that. It's basic, forgettable, repetitive, and completely uninteresting. I miss Lord of the Lost so much. A single point. I actually kind of like the staging just for how uninspired it is. Like, it's just so much nothing that it feels kind of deliberate. There's like this room that's on fire for the first minute. It kind of reminds me of when your sim starts a fire while cooking and just starts listening to the radio while the house burns down around them. Then there's just 4 empty cage things sitting on stage doing nothing, and some guys come out of the background and just stand there singing. I didn't even notice them the first time around. They were just kind of there. Just like the song, you get what you see, and that's about it. Nothing to write home about. 2 points for staging. Okay, now Isak's performance is actually the best part of this entry. Not that there was a lot of competition, but still, it's a good performance. You can't deny that he has a very powerful voice. His notes sound good, he's got strength behind it, there's feeling. I really enjoyed his performance, and full props to him for that. And I can tell you from experience that singing with that much smoke and fog on stage is really difficult, and he did a great job. Isak is a fantastic performer, but this song does not sound good live. It needs the tight control of a recorded version, or else it just sounds like noise at the end. The layers don't blend well, and it's not an enjoyable experience to listen to. Also, that little silent censor of "No one gives a about what's soon to come." It sounds really awkward. I hate silent censors. Just change the lyric. It's not that hard. This sounds really bad. 3 points for performance, though, because Isak really did kill it. A total of 6 for Germany. I still cannot believe that this placed better than Blood and Glitter. My God. Next we have representing Greece, Sorry by Marino Sati. This placed 11th in the grand final with 126 points, 41 from the jury and 85 from the televote, which, I won't lie, was a little surprising to me that it did so well with the public vote. This song is a lot, and I honestly have trouble deciding how I feel about it. It was created to be a representation of modern Greek youth culture with a focus on breaking out of the stereotypical view of Grecian culture. So there's a strong mixture of traditional Hellenic beats and instruments with some more urban rap and trap sounds mixed in. And it's a cool mixture. It's got a neat sound. It's just not something I would ever choose to listen to. But it is a really neat concept. I like the idea. I think just somewhere along the way it became too much. It sounds kind of cluttered and messy. It kind of loses the plot somewhere in the middle. It's chaotic. It's a lot. 2 points for the song. I understand what she was going for. I think it's a neat concept, but there is a lot happening. I think somewhere along the way it just kind of falls apart and it's not very cohesive. This is a hard staging for me to give a review for because I wasn't able to watch it more than about twice, and even then I had to keep looking away from it. There's a lot of flashing, a lot of eye-straining patterns and effects. It's really painful. There's some cool stuff happening. It's just hard for me to watch due to all the eye strain. There's just so much happening. I do love the mix of traditional dancing and modern dancing. I think that's really cool. The choreo is really fantastic. I'm always a fan of choreo where the performer interacts with their backup dancers, and everyone just looks like they're really enjoying themselves up there, and I think that's cool. It's hard to watch. Like, I had to keep looking away. It kind of has the same problem that We Will Rave had with all of the strobing and just too many patterns. It's very it's not epileptic friendly, let's just put it that way. Honestly, it's not really friendly towards anyone. Also, the outfit is terrible. I am so sorry. But what is this skirt? It looks like one of those things we use on our windshields to keep the sun out of our cars. 2 points for staging. Again, I think there are some elements that are neat, but overall, it's too much to watch. Kind of like the song, there's just too much going on. It's not cohesive. The central theme is really hard to parse out, and there's just too much happening. It's all over the place. Now, the performance, on the other hand, is stellar. Sati sounds very crisp, very clean. Her transitions from high to low are really sharp. The energy and stage presence are great. Also, I'm obsessed with this one dancer right here. I mean, just look at him. You know, this guy is so much fun at the after party. 3 points for performance for a total of 7. Marina seems like such a fun person. She seems really sweet. She's a great singer. This entry was just, for me. Look, Iceland, I think you know what we all want to hear from you, and it's not this. Iceland brings us Hera Björk. Again. She represented Iceland in 2010 with the song Je ne sais quoi, a ballad, and we know how much I love those. Her song for this year, Scared of Heights, is only marginally less boring. And apparently, I'm not the only one who thought so, because it finished dead last in the first semifinal with 3 points. Look, I'm gonna be honest, this song gives me millennial beige mom vibes, and it is so 2011. It sounds and feels dated, and not in a fun way. Hera tells us she's not one to take risks, and that's very true, because this is about as basic as it gets. A single point. Iceland, seriously, what are y'all thinking? Just send Doggy Frere again. Nobody would blame you. I think this song is so mediocre and so basic that the staging just never really had much of a chance to stand out. It's just Hera standing there singing with these weird dancer silhouettes on this video in the background. We've got some very aggressive club dancers. One of them has a cowboy hat for some reason. I don't know what's going on. The switch to red in the ending buildup does not fit. It feels too aggressive for the song and out of place. I would have gone with a different color entirely. I do like the backlighting, but other than that, there is nothing to see on this stage. Also, the outfit. It looks fantastic on Hera. It's just not helping the dated feel of the whole thing. 2 points for staging. It's just kind of there. This performance is very American Idol. I don't really know how to explain it any better than that. Hera is a good singer, but there's very little stage presence, and it just kind of feels like watching a mom sing karaoke. I mean, it's good karaoke, but she's no Sylvia Knight, if you get what I'm saying. 2 points for performance for a grand total of 5 to Iceland. I'm sorry, but it's just a boring entry with nothing new or interesting whatsoever. Let's move on. Should have sent Ya Ya Ding Dong. That would have gotten my vote. Representing Italy, we have Angelina Mango and La Noia. La Noia placed 7th in the grand final with an impressive 268 points. 164 from the jury, because we all know how the international jury feels about Italy, and 104 from the televote. I have to say, this song has really grown on me. I did not like it at all the first time, but after 3 or 4 listens, it's actually fairly enjoyable. Now, I think a song should be enjoyable from the first listen, maybe the second, but it's not a terrible song. It's not one that I'll go out of my way to listen to, but I'm not going to skip it every time it comes up on shuffle either. It's just kind of a hip-hop infused pop track. I do love the lyrics, even if this particular type of pseudo-talk singing delivery isn't really my thing. Sassy and somewhat dry feminist commentary seems to be a big theme this year, and I'm here for it. 3 points for the song. I would actually give it more of a 2.5, but I'm going to round up because I do recognize that it is a well-done song, even if it's just not my particular taste. This staging I absolutely love. I think the decision to change the costumes to all black between the semifinals and the finals performance was an excellent choice. As much as I did like the original costumes, they were too busy with the stage effects and made the performers hard to see and focus on. They were always getting lost on stage. These new all black costumes are very elegant and the performers stand out so much better. Also, this is the kind of staging that just creates a whole world on stage for the performers to inhabit, and like I've stated before, that's the kind of thing that I love. There's a strong atmosphere, and the theme of roses with thorns is so aggressive but elegant and goes perfectly with the song, and I love that. The choreography is punchy without being distracting, and I think it's the perfect way to stage this song, a full 4 points for staging. This is a great performance, too. Mango starts out laying down, which can be a risky choice because that's a very hard position to draw a full breath from, and it shows at first. But she recovers well, and this is another one where I'm going to be kind of forgiving of a shaky vocal performance because of how much is happening on stage. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention that her voice sounds very rough and very strained for a lot of this performance in a way that just elicits sympathy from me more than anything else. It's obvious that she is a great singer and performer. She was just really pushing through some pretty serious vocal strain here. And I hope she got herself some hot tea with honey after this performance because she earned it. 3 points for performance for a total of 10 from me, which is higher than I ever thought I would have ranked this song initially. This is one of those that isn't really one of my personal favorites, but I have to give credit where credit is due, and this is a very strong entry. Now, I can't move on to the next country without mentioning that during Eurovision, out of nowhere, Angelina decided to have herself a little mini concert in the press center and just start singing John Lennon's Imagine in the middle of the press center. No one asked her to do this, she just let those intrusive thoughts win. And no one stopped her. I can't help but wonder if maybe this is why her voice sounded so rough in the finals. I had the unfortunate experience of stumbling upon that video while searching for Italy's finals performance, and now I'm afraid I have no choice but to pass on the curse, lest it consume my very soul. I am truly so sorry.
I would really like to express my thoughts in my own way and in my own words. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Music speaks.
You have 7 days. Let's move on to Latvia. Representing Latvia this year was Dawns with Hollow. Hollow came 16th in the grand final with 64 points, 36 of those from the jury and 28 from the televote. This is another song that has really grown on me. The first time I heard it, I had the same thought that I think a lot of people had, which was, oh my god, it's Imagine Dragons. Again. But I don't actually think that that's a fair assessment. This song is actually very powerful and beautiful. The lyrics have depth, and I like a darker Eurovision entry sometimes. It's sincere and strong, and I don't think it was given a fair shot by the public because of that initial Imagine Dragons comparison. Honestly, a very solid 3 points for this song. I like it a lot. The staging, however, absolutely kills this song. It's terrible. This is an entry where less is more, and this staging does it a terrible disservice. And it's heartbreaking because the original music video was really good. I love the music video for this song, and I wish they'd done something that evoked that same empty, lost feeling that was so prevalent there. Or the national final. The national final performance was great. It let the song speak for itself, and it didn't look goofy. Instead, we get Dawn's hanging out in a drainage pipe and, this tree. Now listen, if there is one thing I hate more than cluttered fire imagery, it is this damn tree. I have seen the same freaking blooming tree animation used in so many entries in the past, and I am sick of it. This tree has taken years off of my life. If this tree has no haters, I am dead. I hate this tree. Also, this is officially the worst stage outfit of the year. I had an obscene amount of Blue Man Group jokes lined up for this, but I promised myself I wouldn't use more than one, and I've already done that. So, it's just so bad. Again, there is no reason that they couldn't have kept the look from the music video or the national final, and I do not understand why they didn't just do that. A single point for staging. Dawn's, you deserve so much better. I am so sorry. Performance. I do love Dawn's voice. I think he has a lovely voice. Every note is on point. It's a great performance. But speaking as a performer, I think the awful staging did him another terrible disservice because his singing doesn't have the same emotional depth and range that I think he could have gotten with better staging that was more fitting to the song. If you want a good example of what I'm talking about, just go watch the national final performance. There is a marked difference between the emotional atmosphere of the two performances. And I think the lack of emotion really makes the song suffer. But Dawn's is a lovely singer. I really like his voice. 3 points for performance for a total of 7. This is the rare time when a song I really loved got a mediocre score, and I hate that. Blame the staging and this stupid tree. Representing Lithuania is Troye Sivan. Oh, sorry, I mean Sylvester Belt with Luktelk, a fan favorite in the online fandom if my TikTok feed is any indication. Luktelk finished 14th in the grand final with 90 points, 32 from the jury and 58 from the public vote. Luktelk is fairly straightforward and kind of predictable, but I don't hate it. I do love Sylvester's voice. It's got a very nice, smooth sound that I think complements the dark instrumentals very well. His voice is honestly the best part of this song, in my opinion. Only 2 points for this song, but that's very much just based on personal taste. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this one. This staging grabs you right off the bat with that "Mom, I threw up" stance. I do like how the staging plays with negative space and shadow more than anything else. Negative space is something that isn't utilized enough in staging, and it can be very striking when it's done correctly, which I think this was. The dancers' costumes are terrible. I much prefer the national final outfits. They were simpler but looked better. I have no idea what's going on here. Also, we can't not mention the anti-snoring nasal strip. I really don't know what he was going for here. 3 points for staging. It's not anything especially spectacular, but I do really like the contrast, and it's good. Very clean performance. Like I said, I really like Sylvester's voice. He doesn't need to yell or scream to show off what a good singer he is, and I really respect that. He's very nice to listen to. I do think he's lacking in energy at some points, but it fits the overall performance, and it's not that much of a detriment. I do have to say, not all the dancers are in sync at all times, and it's pretty obvious at certain points. But that's a minor nitpick. I do think this one comes together very well, even if it does seem a little sleepy at times. 3 points for performance for a total of 8. Great job, Lithuania. Hope your nose feels better soon. Luxembourg this year brings us Fighter by Tali. Fighter came in 13th place in the grand final with 103 points, 83 from the jury and 20 from the televote. And I feel like the scoring here is a very good example of what the jury wants to see versus what the public wants to hear, because I'm sorry, but this song is just pure jury fodder pop. You can't deny the song is unfortunately catchy, but it's as basic as it gets. I'm never going to be impressed by these types of inspiring songs. You know the type. I wanna see you be brave. I know you're a fighter. This is my fight song. I don't like it. They're annoying. They're ultimately shallow radio bait, and I don't know if I'm just too cynical or what, but they annoy the crap out of me. And this song sounds like 100 other songs that I've heard before. There isn't anything new or memorable about it. It's just got a catchy hook and some French thrown in to impress the juries. 2 points, I'm just not interested. The staging is just as uninspired and cliche as the song. There's no story or central idea, it's just a mix of every overused thing and every other cliche performance. We've got pyrotechnics to get our attention because they did not have it before, lots of flashing lights, and then this god-awful, very badly animated leopard thing because that's what this needs for some reason. Now, I do like the purple and gold because we've had an overabundance of red and yellow this year for some reason, but other than that, there's nothing that stands out as memorable. 2 points for staging. Now, for an otherwise forgettable entry, I do think that Tali has one of the strongest vocal performances of the year. She's got a lovely voice that doesn't hurt to listen to, and this sounds like a pretty hard song to sing. It's fast and it goes a lot of different places in a very short amount of time. And her dancers are very clean and smooth and just a joy to watch. So 3 points for performance. That's a total of 7 for Luxembourg. I don't hate this, but I don't like it. It's just, it is.
Oh my god, you got me all. Kissing me with the black.
I'm gonna really try to find something nice to say about this one, I promise. Representing Malta, it's Sara Bonici with Loop. This placed 16th in the second semifinal with 13 points, otherwise known as last, failing to qualify for the grand final, so we only had to hear it once. And it's not hard to see why. Loop is just Spain 2022. It's Chanel's slow-mo, but worse. And I hated listening to it. And I had to listen to it multiple times for the sake of this video. It is everything I hate in one song. Repetitive, shallow, a talk-sung hook, lots of scooping, obnoxious runs. It's insufferable. I did not watch the national final for Malta, but 36 entries and this was the best you got? It's generic. It's indistinguishable from every other spicy pop song. A single point because I have to give it something. Now, I feel like this song knows exactly how forgettable and cliche it is, so the staging uses every gimmick it can think of to cover up just how uninspired the song actually is. Non-stop lifts and spins and just trying anything it can think of to grab our attention except by having a good song. And the absolute worst is this ridiculous blindfolded spin thing where the music pretty much stops entirely so that they can put on these dumb blindfolds and flip Sarah around. Because that's cool, I guess. And then they commit the cardinal sin of whipping their jackets into the audience so that they can pop and lock shirtless while Sarah does the splits. And the whole time, it's just the bass line playing because there's no song to be heard here. I thought this performance was never going to end. 1 point. I can't even give the performance a proper rating because I was so annoyed by this. Yeah, Sarah's a great dancer and she can do the splits, but that's not what I'm here for. And oh look, she did my favorite thing ever and just started screaming into the mic. Cool. I will say I kind of like her voice. It's got this rough, very unique sound to it that I think is cool. I would like to hear her sing jazz or something. I think she'd make a great jazz singer. Just not this. Anything but this. 2 points for performance because, yeah, it's a good performance. I mean, everybody did their jobs. They did what they were supposed to do. Just what they were supposed to do was stupid. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I just found the whole thing incredibly bland, annoying. I don't like this entry. I'm sorry. That is 4 total points for Malta. I really do feel bad for how much I just ripped this one apart, but it's I don't like it. It's everything I hate in one performance. And now, because I said I would try to find something nice to say about this performance, I do like Sarah's outfit. I think Sarah's outfit is really cool. It looks great on her. And I think her little tooth gap is really cute. Normally, I wouldn't sink so low as to point out the physical features of a female performer, but genuinely, I think her little tooth gap is really cute. I can't help it. Sarah, I really do like your voice, and I wish you would do something a little more unique with it other than this mediocre, overproduced kind of sound. I'm sorry I hated your song so much. I'm gonna move on before people decide I'm being too negative. Oh god, I'm gonna have to do it again. Just one right after the other here, making me look like a jerk. Representing Moldova, we have Natalia Barbu with In the Middle. This finished 13th in the first semi-final with 20 points, meaning, again, we only had to deal with it the one time. Look, this song has no idea what it's doing. It kind of sounds like it's trying to have the new agey vibe of, like, Celtic Woman, but it pushes the drama up to an 11 in just the most ridiculous, annoying way. It doesn't really have anything to say, but it thinks it does, and that's actually worse. I do like the strings. I think the instrumentals are lovely, but that's about it. A single point to the song, I think it's dated and it's trying way too hard. It's not good. There are parts of the staging that I do like. I think the video effects are used to great effect here. I like that the theme is cohesive, and I'm always going to love staging that tells a story and creates a world on stage, which this does. But what is that I see? Is that damn tree again? A lot of these graphics just look very outdated. Very retro Microsoft screensaver that looked super cool on your Windows XP in 2003, but now it just looks kind of bad. I can't put my finger on what really makes the staging look so bad. There's just something about it. And you lose so many points for this angel wing effect here. I hate these angel wings almost as much as I hate that tree. Not quite as much because I really hate that tree, but almost as much. Once again, this is one where the national final performance was, in my opinion, much better. It was very understated, but elegant. It was very minimalist and much more modern. And while I'm normally not really a fan of minimalism, I do think that in this particular entry, it improved the song quite a bit, and I wish that they had built off of that instead. 2 points for staging, because while I do really like the overall concept, there is just something very off here, and I just can't quite explain what. If you have some idea of what went wrong here, please let me know in the comments, because I know that there is something wrong, I just can't quite put it into words. I just know that I don't like it. And again, there's something wrong with this performance, and I just don't know exactly what. There's just a vibe that I don't like, and I know that's not a very good critique to give, but I don't know what else to say. It annoys me. Barbu's voice is very strong and it sounds great. There's just a vibe here that I'm not vibing with. Maybe it's that she's screaming when she doesn't need to. It's too loud. I really don't know. Also, if you have to prompt the audience to clap, they may not be as into it as you think they are. I do, however, love the look on her face when she picks up the violin and starts to play it. It's the most genuine look of pure joy and love for this instrument, and that makes me happy. Another 2 for performance for a total of 5. I do kind of actually like the recorded version of this song. There's just something weirdly, almost uncanny about the staging and the performance. I, again, can't really put it into words. I think they needed to just tone it down about 5 levels, and it would have been greatly improved. Sorry, Moldova. Okay, who's next? Oh, you have got to be kidding me. Okay, at this point, I feel like I have to issue a sort of disclaimer saying that I am really not a mean or negative person. This stretch of countries is just really killing me and making me look bad. Portugal was represented this year by Iolanda with the song Grito. It placed 10th in the grand final with 152 points. And this is another interesting situation where you can see just how out of touch the jury is with what the people actually want in some cases. Because the international jury gave it 139 points. And if you're keeping up with the math here, that means the public televote only gave it 13, which I genuinely find fascinating. That is a gap of 126 points, which is nuts. This song drives me crazy for the simple reason that I forget literally everything about it as soon as it's over. And I mean that literally. I had to keep replaying that song for the sake of this video because I forgot what it sounded like as soon as it was over. Like, when I'm listening to it in the moment, I'm thinking, okay, this is okay. It's kind of boring, but it's pretty, I guess. And then the song ends, and I could not tell you a single thing about what I just listened to. I think the lyrics are just beautiful on paper, but the song itself is actually the most forgettable thing I've heard in a long time. Like, as I'm sitting here recording this video, if you asked me to hum you the melody of this song, I would not be able to do it. Like, I'm thinking to myself right now, what does this song sound like? Because all I have is just my notes telling me what I thought about it, and I can't tell you. 1 point, I think. Now, the staging is just as blank as the song, but I think it actually works in a strange way. White as the only color is a very bold choice, and it isn't an altogether bad one. Why the lights needed to be flashing constantly against the beat is something I don't really understand, and I also don't get why these poor dancers are wearing pantyhose over their faces. But I love Yolanda's look. This outfit is gorgeous on her, and her makeup is so striking. 2 points for staging. It's not necessarily bad staging, there's just nothing really happening here. Oh boy, more unnecessary belting. I'm kidding, this is actually one time when I do like it, and I think it adds some emotional depth. Yolanda's voice is really lovely, one of my favorite female vocal performances. It's clean and smooth and very pleasant to listen to. And I have to give her props because I would not be able to focus with a bunch of Q-tips throwing gang signs inches away from my face. 3 points for performance for a total of 6. I feel bad giving it anything less because I really don't dislike this entry. I just legit cannot remember anything about it. Okay, the losing streak is over, and this is what I'm here for. From San Marino, Megara with 11-11. This entry may have not had the mass appeal needed to qualify. It came in 14th in the second semifinal with 16 points, but I love it. I think Megara is just overall one of the coolest groups of this year, and I want to be friends with them so bad. Look, I'm a former emo kid. I can't help it. I love this song. It's unapologetically loud and raucous and fun. It's aware of exactly what it is, and it doesn't care. It is a little all over the place, but I like it, and I think it lends itself well to the song. The Spanish guitar in the break is really cool. It gives it a very unique flavor for this sort of genre. It's just a fun rock song, and it doesn't try to be anything more than that. A very solid 3 points. Everything about this staging is perfection. It doesn't let you look away for a second, and you don't want to. The video effects blend really well with the action on stage. I love the animation, the aesthetics, the creation of multiple worlds for these very colorful characters to inhabit. I'm obsessed with the blacklight skeletons, and we not only have a costume change, but a hair change. And the colors. It has a very solid and cohesive identity while still being chaotic and wild. It's loud, it's in your face, and it's fine with it. A perfect 4 points for staging, honestly some of my favorite design work of this year. I can't overstate how much I love Megara's energy. Look at them! Look at Rafaela Tache, she's adorable, I want to play Mario Kart with her. Kenzie Loevet's vocals are aggressive, but they run through emotions and tones with theatricality and variation. It might not be the most polished vocal performance, but it's confident, it's fun, and it has fantastic energy. Another 4 points for performance. Sue me, I'm easily impressed by onstage hyperactivity. That's 11 points for Megara. I don't care, I think they're fantastic and should have gone on to the finals. Megara, someone does love you, and that someone is me. And we're back to ballads, oh boy. For Serbia, it's Teodora with Ramonda. This placed 17th in the grand final with 54 points. A fairly balanced score of 22 from the jury and 32 from the televote. As has probably been made obvious, I don't like ballads, and I'm just never going to give them very high scores. I'm sorry, I am what I am. Ballads are just not my thing. But as ballads go, I think this one isn't terrible. I think these lyrics are gorgeous, and I love the music box in the beginning. I also like that this one has a cultural meaning and context behind it. But overall, it's still largely a forgettable song that I am only going to give 2 points to. Now, the staging, on the other hand, I adore. I love this staging. I think it works beautifully with the song. It sets up an immediate atmosphere and story that can be easily understood without having to understand the lyrics. Something I didn't notice watching this live was the little lightning flashes that they have happening in the background. I think that's a small detail that really adds a lot to the atmosphere and is very well done. It's another great example of creating a world on stage in which to show off the song. And I got to make a lot of jokes about the Titanic and the iceberg during the mess that was the final, so that's fun. A full 4 points for staging. Now, performance. I get that this is a quiet song, it's emotional, it's understated, but was it just me, or was she barely singing? There's a lot of, hoarse whispering going on in the beginning that is just not enjoyable at all. Things do get better when we get to the chorus and we actually get some sound, but other than that, there's a lot of mumbling and it just kind of sounds like she has no voice. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it does not work for me, and I think it really hurts the song. 2 points for performance for a total of 8, which is actually kind of a lot for me for a ballad, so well done, Serbia. Hope you don't get hit by a big cruise ship. I want to start off by saying I am furious at how low this placed. From Slovenia, we have Raven with Veronica. This masterpiece placed 23rd in the grand final with 27 points. Pretty evenly split, with 15 from the jury and 12 from the televote. Robbed, in my opinion. Because this song is magnificent. It is pure, raw, untamed emotion. It grabs you right from the first note and does not let go. It is rage and grief and power, and I love it. According to Raven, this song is about the persecution of powerful women. It's named for Veronica of Desenice, the first Slovenian woman to be tried for witchcraft. From what I understand of the legend, Veronica's father-in-law didn't approve of her marrying his son, so he had her tried as a witch, and when that didn't pan out, he just straight up had her murdered. And just like Veronica, this song owns its power, and it doesn't care if it makes you uncomfortable in the process. It is dark and theatrical, and I will forever be mad that it ranked so low. Also, Bojan from Joker Out is credited on it, which is pretty cool. A perfect 4 points. I really do love this song. And the staging for this could also not have been more perfect. There was some pearl-clutching controversy over Raven's costume, but this is one of those times where the nudity, or near nudity, actually serves a purpose and heightens the emotional experience, in my opinion. It makes Raven and her dancers appear vulnerable but strong. The actual effects are very understated. It's mostly just lights and fog to create this illusion of a tsunami breaking behind them. And it lets Raven's performance speak for itself and stand out, and it's a great way to approach a piece like this. The staging also kind of takes a back seat to Raven and her dancers' choreography and acting, which really steals the show here. Another perfect 4 for staging, just brilliant. And speaking of Raven's performance, it is easily the best vocal performance of this competition. Not only is every note on perfect pitch, the acting and the emotion are gut-wrenching. You can feel the rage and hurt and hope, and it's just visceral. I am obsessed with the way she contorts and claws at herself and pulls that grief and power up from inside. You can see it happening. It's also one of the few times I actually like high notes, because Raven is a professional opera singer and has the chops to pull it off without it sounding painful. Also, these notes actually serve a purpose narratively and don't just exist to show how high she can go. They're beautiful, they're clean, the entire performance is just mind-blowingly gorgeous. It's another 4 points for a perfect score of 12 for Slovenia. And I know what you're thinking, a perfect 12 and it didn't get into my top 10? It actually was in my top 10 originally, but it was sort of tied with another country, and I chose to go with the other country for the purposes of this video because I just connected personally with the other performance more. But I do think this is far and away one of the best performances of this year's competition. The entire entry is very solid. I liked it from the first time I heard it. Again, it's crazy to me that this song ranked so low in the final standings because I think it's genuinely fantastic. Oh, Sweden. Look, the only explanation for why this was in the top 10 is because Sweden submitted it. It just is, I'm sorry. Sweden brings us Marcus and Martinus with the ironically named Unforgettable. This came in 9th in the grand final with 174 points. 125 from the international jury because that's not suspicious or anything. And 49 from the televote. I feel like I need to mention that the German jury gave Sweden their full 12, which I think is further proof that Germany just has no idea what's going on. Oh, hi, Sev. Hey, buddy, what's up? Hi. What's up? Say hello, friends. Hello, friends. Oh, my goodness. I think Sweden just has a team of, like, evil music scientists whose only job is to sit in a lab day in and day out and listen to generic pop music. Taking notes on beats and sound and melody and vocal fry so that they can then create a mathematical formula that will allow them to construct the most generic, radio-friendly pop song they possibly can to then submit to Eurovision. And sure, the song that comes out of this sterile music laboratory might be an okay song. It might even be kind of catchy. But it's also soulless, uninspired, and completely forgettable. And this is the song that came out of the Swedish Evil Music Laboratory this year. The production is slick, maybe a little too slick, but that's really all it has going for it. It sounds like they fed all of the Weeknd's greatest hits to an AI, made Norwegian Cole and Dylan Sprouse sing it, and then called it good. It's not a bad song, it's just a generic dance pop track, and that is all it is. It is painfully formulaic, and it's overproduced to hell and back. I'm sorry, I think Marcus and Martinez seem really sweet, but it's 2 points from me. I won't lie, I like the staging. It leans into the cringe, and I like that. The cyber dance aesthetics are just right up my alley and a lot of fun. It feels like I'm watching a Matrix fan video, and it's so dorky and just fun. I don't know that it's meant to come off as dorky as it does either, which actually just makes me like it more. It does, however, suffer the same problem I brought up with Greece, which is that it's painful to watch at points because there's some serious eye strain happening, especially in the last third. As much as I do love these glitchy cyber effects, there does come a point when it's just a little bit too much and it's not enjoyable to watch anymore. 3 points for staging, but it's a high 3. I really do love the staging. Oh, the performance. This might sound a little bit mean, and I'm sorry for that, but I just don't think these two have the most pleasing voices. They have that whiny, nasal 90s boy band sound. And I know, complaining about whiny, nasal singing is really ironic coming from someone who spent their first video waxing poetic about Weird Al Yankovic for 45 minutes. But it works for Al. I don't like it in pop songs. Honestly, this entire entry just looks and sounds like a couple of kids whose parents bought them a music video and are now making all of their international family members watch it. As far as performance goes, this is another 3 points. It's really more of a 2.5, but I like to round up where I can. That's 8 for Sweden, which is honestly higher than I thought I would give it. It's just very generic. And again, please keep in mind, these are not personal jabs. Everything I've seen of Marcus and Martinus, like behind the scenes, they seem really fun. They seem like really nice young men, and I wish them all the best. I just think this is formulaic pop at its worst. And speaking of generic formulaic pop, finishing off the alphabetical portion of this video before we get to the top 10, we have the good old United Kingdom, giving us Dizzy by Ollie Alexander. This song finished 18th in the grand final with 46 points. All 46 of which came from the jury, because as we all know,
everybody hates UK, so 0 points.
A quick aside here, I actually watched Fire Saga for the first time after this year's grand final with some non-Eurovision friends who had never seen Eurovision, didn't know anything about it, and I had a great time explaining why I was laughing so hard at this line. For those of you who don't know, this is not the first or even second time that the UK has received 0 points from the televote. Okay, so Dizzy is a very catchy song, but that's really all it is. Once again, there's nothing new or noteworthy about it, it's just a pop song. I don't hate it, but I do think it's just repetitive club fodder, and I'm not the biggest fan of Ollie's voice. Like I said, that kind of nasal, whiny sound, I just don't like very much. It just doesn't especially interest me, and there's not a whole lot to say about it. So, 2 points for the song. I'm actually pretty excited to talk about this staging because it's some of my favorite staging of the year. First of all, I absolutely love this concept. I think choosing something as unappealing as a grimy locker room for a setting is a really risky choice, but it pays off really well. And making a setting like that look good is an accomplishment in and of itself. And I am obsessed with the optical illusions employed throughout this performance. I actually watched quite a few different versions of this performance so that I could get a view from the audience seats, because I wanted to see how much of the staging was practical and how much was fancy camera work, and most of it isn't camera tricks. It's just very creative use of set design and choreography. I love the costume choices. I love the stark conceptual clash between masculine violence and sensual seduction that's being played out on stage. I just think this is a really clever, neat concept overall. Now, that being said, I do think there is a short sequence in the middle that takes things maybe a little bit too far. I think it's fine to have this kind of thing. I actually think it ties in really well to that conceptual clash of masculine violence and sensuality that I mentioned. But I just don't think it was maybe the best choreography choice to full-on mime this. It definitely has a narrative purpose. It was just very jarring to have with no warning, and also I was watching this with my younger sister, so that was fun. But except for that very short sequence, I love this staging and I love this choreo. It's really cool how it straddles that line between traditionally masculine aggression and queer sensuality. And it continually makes you question which one you're going to get while never really drawing a line separating the two. It's obvious that a lot of work went into making this idea work, and they killed it. It has to be just some of the coolest staging of the year, a solid 3 points. Vocally, however, I actually think this is one of the worst performances of the competition this year. I'm sorry, I don't think Ollie has a particularly great voice, and he's just not a very good singer live, or at least he wasn't during this performance. He is the least interesting thing on stage. I'm sorry, Ollie. For what it's worth, I think you're cool. You took that 0 televote points with great humor, and you've definitely got my respect for that. The dancers, on the other hand, just steal the show for this performance. Like, both of my points are going to them in this case. Their acting choices are a joy to watch. These two especially. I love the way their expressions go from sensual to suspicious in this moment right here. It's awesome. The UK's dancers are probably my favorite dancers of the year. They are just fantastic. So theatrical, so invested. They made this enjoyable and almost made me forget about Ollie singing. 2 points for performance for a total of 7 to the United Kingdom. I hope you have a cleaner locker room to make out in back home. And now, Finally, the moment no one but me has been waiting for, my top 10 Eurovision entries of 2024. Before I get into the top 10, I want to say that all of the artists this year did a much better job than I could ever do. I think there are some incredibly talented performers and songwriters in this year's competition, and they're all winners in my heart. Well, not really. But these 10 entries are the ones that I really connected with, either on a personal or artistic level. These are just the ones that I liked the most. This entire review has obviously been very subjective, but this part is going to be the most subjective. I've got some wild takes in here, if the process of elimination hadn't already tipped you off to that. But this is your warning that it's just going to be me waxing poetic about these entries for the remainder of the video. One entry in particular. Now, because of the way I structured the preceding list, most of you have probably already figured out who is in the top 10. So, if you're still here for some reason, thank you so much for putting up with me for this long. I really appreciate it, and I'm very excited to get into these. I'm telling myself I only have to say the name of this song one time. Coming in at number 10, it's Estonia, represented by 5 Minust and Puolup, the current holder of the record for the longest Eurovision song title. And I'm actually going to have to read this off my laptop because there's no way I'm going to get this. Nendest narkotikumidest e tea me kulmidagi. Yeah, there's no possible way I said that right, but I've actually filmed this 5 times now, so I'm just gonna call it good. Anyway, this major bop finished 20th in the grand final with 37 points. 4 jury votes and 33 public televotes. Which just goes to show that sometimes the jury has no taste because this song slaps. If you couldn't already tell, I love this song, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why. So, satire is always going to rank very highly with me, to the surprise of no one. For example, in 2011, Montenegro sent Rambo Amadeus with the song Euro Nero, which is often listed as one of the worst Eurovision entries of all time, but is actually a brilliant piece and one of my unironic favorites. This reminds me a lot of that. I'm a simple creature, I like pessimistic satire. So, the title translates to, we don't know anything about those narcotics. It's about some poor people who are just doing poor people stuff, like hanging out in the trash and wearing dresses that they dug out of the garbage. And there's a police raid, and they're accused of being on drugs because they're poor. And they have to explain to the cops that they're not on drugs because drugs are expensive and being junkies is for rich people. It's really just this brilliant, hilarious commentary on the way that society often treats people who are impoverished, and everything about it is just, it's hilarious. It's a great song. It's smart, it's subversive, I just love it so much. And it's catchy as hell. It's got everything I love. A great hook, traditional instruments, lots of different musicians with unique voices that are all showcased. Highly intelligent chaos that is well organized and brilliantly composed. Sign me up. A perfect 4 points. This song it's great. I love it. So the staging is really very sparse. It relies very heavily on the energy of the performers who bring it. There's no set, there's no props, which is an interesting choice because they could have had a whole mess of nonsense going on stage with the story this song has. But instead, they chose to go with only lighting and just let the performers go full ham, and it works out great for them. This entry is also kind of known for its somewhat viral choreography, and I think it was a really smart choice to spotlight that. I know we were all doing this stupid dance all over the living room here in America when this song came on. 3 points for staging. It's simple, but it works. Okay, so the energy these mad lads bring to the stage is ridiculous. If you sit still during this performance, you must be dead because this goes so much harder than it has any right to. It's just a bunch of guys in sunglasses with like fun dad vibes hyping up the crowd until it is fit to implode. And then when these two guys come out with the tall harpa, chef's kiss. It is such a fun performance. These guys just came out here ready to create chaos, and I am here for it. 4 points. That's 11 points to Estonia. I love this one. I also want to say I think their antics in the artists area during the finals were so much fun to watch. I loved watching them goof off with Finland. Hope you're doing great, guys, and I hope you were finally able to afford some good drugs. Right, so this is probably the most undeserving last place in Eurovision history next to Lord of the Lost in 2023. I am shocked and horrified. Number 9 is Norway, who blessed us with Gate and Ulveham. Horrifically, this came in 25th place in the grand final, dead last, with 16 points, 12 from the jury and only 4 from the public televote, which technically still means that they beat the UK, so congrats, Norway. I think Ulveham did so badly because it's not a song that has mass appeal. It's folk metal, and folk metal just isn't most people's favorite genre. It's one of mine, which is why I ranked it so highly. I just don't think that a medieval folk ballad is everyone's favorite type of lyric, no matter how cool the story might be. And I think that lack of mass appeal just did it a great disservice because this is a beautiful song. We open with a traditional sheep herding call that fades into this almost tribal beat accented with metal growls and driving guitar. I love metal with female vocalists, and Gunhild's voice fits the traditional strings so beautifully. A full 4 points. I wish we saw metal more often at Eurovision because the metal genre always sends its best. I think metal can be a hard thing to stage, but when it's done correctly, it can be the most incredible experience, and this staging is flat out fantastic. It starts out slow and kind of mysterious and builds in intensity until you just can't stuff it back in the bottle and it's consuming the entire stage. I love the lighting, the fog, the set, the band is showcased beautifully, it's just perfect. And it all leads up to this right here, when Gunhild lets out this gorgeous power note and her stance here looks so much like a howling wolf. It's just raw energy and it's fantastic. A full 4 points to staging. You can't look at this and give it anything less. This entire band is just so incredibly talented, but Gunhild is a goddess. Her vocals are spot on. It is just haunting and magical. She really is telling a story with these vocals, and she's telling it beautifully. It really is like listening to a medieval bard around a campfire in the middle of a winter storm. It's just primal. Also, we have to talk about this guy who just yeets his guitar into the air and flips it and catches it. Hello? Perfect performance. Another 4 for a perfect score of 12. Norway, this was robbery, and we all know it. You were some of the best of this year, easily one of the most undeserved last places I have ever seen. When I said I had some controversial takes on this top 10 list, this is what I meant. Coming in at number 8 is Poland with Luna and The Tower. This finished 12th in the first semifinal with 35 points, just barely missing a qualification. This is another subjective pick, and I'm aware of that. I just love Luna. I love the song. Sue me. Maybe it's because this was one of the first entries I listened to this year, but this is actually one of my favorite songs of the year. I play it all the time. It's really catchy. It's got the perfect mix of uplifting empowerment with a little bit of savagery. It might be a little basic, which I know I took away points from other entries, I'm sorry, but Luna really gives it the sweet sincerity that's just infectious in my opinion. It's well mixed, it's got some interesting sounds and beats, I love Luna's voice, it's just a good song. 4 points. This is my I like the song Fight Me pick. I'm sorry. The staging is very reminiscent of the music video, which, as I mentioned with Musti, I really like, and I especially like it because I love the music video. A battle between two opponents on a chessboard is a classic theme that works so well on stage, especially for this song. It's consistent throughout, and the cosmic element that they throw in here is really well incorporated and doesn't feel out of place. The costume reveal is not my favorite. I think it looks kind of ridiculous and doesn't add anything. And the choreo isn't my favorite either, but overall, it's really good and I like it. 3 points for staging. This part makes me sad. I don't know what was going on with this performance, but Luna's vocals are really weak. And it doesn't make a lot of sense either, because she has a fantastic voice and it shows with this high note near the end. That part is strong and smooth and sounds beautiful. But she sounds shaky and out of breath for most of this performance, and it really suffers for it. And I firmly believe it's a big reason why this didn't end up qualifying. This particular performance is just really weak. This song does not have a lot of breaks in it for breath, and I think they should have taken that into account when choreographing it, and maybe that's why it sounds off. I don't really know. But I was heartbroken watching this live because I love this song. I really like Luna. I know she's a great singer, and I knew straight away that this performance was just not gonna cut it. So 2 points for performance. But that's still a 9 total. I really do like this song, and I think it deserved better. It's in my top 10 for a reason. Now here's one that's not at all controversial. Everyone knows this entry was a straight up masterpiece. At number 7, from the Ukraine, Jerry Heil and Aliona with Teresa and Maria. Ukraine took 3rd in the grand final, a fantastic placing with 453 points, 146 from the jury and 307 from the public televote. Something about this one reminds me a lot of Ukraine's 2022 entry, Kalush Orchestra's Stefania, which I also love. Ukraine honestly knocks it out of the park every year. They're always one to watch. They also brought us the absolute legend that is Verka Serduchka, so thank you, Ukraine. Any song about female divinity performed by 2 absolute queens with contrasting but complementary vocal styles is going to win so many points from me. And this song is a religious experience, literally. Normally, I'm not a big fan of rap breaks, but Aliona is a goddess, and I love what she does with this. The choir in the background, Jerry Heil's vocals, the whole thing is just gorgeous. No notes, a perfect 4 points from me. It's a masterpiece. My God, the staging. The entrances are so theatrical. They just arrive on that stage like heroes out of a legend, and it's magic. I especially love this part where Jerry stabs her mic into the cliff face just as Aliona arrives and pulls a dagger out of her hair. It's so cool. I also love the juxtaposition between Jerry Heil's classic elegance and Aliona's more formidable presence. They just look so good together. And this part right here where these shadowy figures watching from above descend to earth as they meet up in the middle of the stage, it's a beautiful moment. And then we have this gorgeous, heart-wrenching image of all of these diverse women laying together and supporting each other as these 2 heroic figures join them. It is a very moving performance filled with raw, feminine power across multiple spectrums, and I adore it. Some of my favorite staging this year, some of my favorite costumes this year. I love it, a full 4 points. And the performance is part of what makes this so incredibly powerful. Jerry's vocals are consistently perfect, they never feel forced, and there is passion behind every note. She is a master of adding flavor to her notes without screaming or sounding obnoxious. It's just ethereal. I'm obsessed with Aliona. She is so cool and so powerful, and her rapping has an elegance behind it that you don't see very often. They work so well together. It's just a beautiful showing of sisterhood and solidarity, and it's another 4 points for a total of a perfect 12. I'm so proud of these 2 queens, and Aliona, I want to be you when I grow up. I just think you're really neat. The one I know a lot of people have been waiting for. Number 6 on my list was number 1 on the official list. It's the winner of Eurovision 2024, Switzerland's Nemo with The Code. The first place winner with a grand total of 591 points. This got 365 from the jury and 226 from the televote. And before I get into reviewing this one, I do want to take a moment to talk about something that's really been bothering me regarding the response to Nemo's win. I'm just gonna get up on my soapbox here for a minute. I don't like the jury vote either. I don't think it's a very good system. I think there have been some scores and some outcomes that are a little bit eyebrow raising. But I also think we can complain about the jury system without tearing down the artists who just happen to benefit from it. Like the comments I've been seeing that Nemo wasn't very good, that it didn't deserve to win, that they can't sing. Excuse me, were we listening to the same song? And people just generally being nasty because Baby Lasagna came in second. And I get it. Once again, the people's winner came in second to the jury vote winner. I know that's really disappointing. I also wanted Baby Lasagna, and it especially stings coming off of what happened to Katia last year. But we can be mad about the voting system without attacking Nemo. Or Loreen. Don't attack Loreen over what happened to Katia. It's not Loreen's fault. Y'all are going after the wrong people here. Especially because you're wrong. This song was fantastic. This was a great outcome, and it's a lot better than what could have happened, and I think we all know it. This entry was fantastic. Artistically, it's one of the best songs I've heard in a very long time, and this win really did mean a lot to a lot of people, myself included. If it couldn't be my number one pick, and as you're going to see, it could not be my number one pick, I'm glad it was Nemo. The great thing about Eurovision is that there are always multiple artists who are deserving of the win. There's always plenty of outcomes to be happy with, and this was absolutely one of them. That's all I wanted to say. There's never a reason to tear down the winning artist because your favorite didn't win. I know we hate the jury vote. The jury vote sucks. But it also kind of saved us this year. So, but anyway, I'll get off my soapbox now and start talking about the actual song. Like I just said, there were several songs that I think deserved the win, and this is definitely one of them. Speaking from an artistic standpoint, this is far and away one of the most impressive entries in recent Eurovision history. The song flows seamlessly through multiple genres and musical styles without ever settling on any one sound, which is a brilliant choice for a song about androgyny. Nemo's voice is just incredible, and it molds perfectly to whatever style they happen to be performing. The lyrics are so clever. Binary code. Come on. It's smart, it's engaging, it's a beautiful exploration of identity, and I love it. If you don't get it, that just means that it's not yours to get, and that's perfectly fine. As this list probably shows, not everyone is going to connect with every piece of art out there. But myself and a lot of other people really connected with this one, and we were happy to see it win. A full 4 points for the song. It really is a fantastically well done piece of art. If you haven't heard it, please go listen to it. This staging is deceptively simple, but it has one of the coolest staging effects I've seen in a long time. Nemo spends most of the performance going from one end to the other of this moving circle thing, alternately climbing up and falling back down, performing this sort of symbolic balancing act between identities. The lighting in the beginning is one of my favorite simple lighting tricks. It alternately lights up the two halves of their face separately until it eventually lights up their whole face. It's very simple but very effective. I also love the contrast between the cold metal of the staging and Nemo's soft, vibrant costume. This performance is all about contrast that eventually coalesces into a whole, and it is the perfect representation of androgyny as performance art. 3 points for staging. I took one off because I'm kind of petty and I hate this costume. I especially hate the shoes. They look like those spa slippers you would wear to a bachelorette party. But if it makes Nemo feel good, more power to you, I guess. I have nothing negative to say about this performance at all. It's perfect. Nemo has a phenomenal voice. I was so happy every time those notes were hit because they were clean and bright and beautiful. I was just over here pessimistically waiting for one of them to go sour, and they never did. The acting choices are magical, and my favorite thing about this performance is how deeply personal it is and how Nemo is fine with letting those emotions show and letting it be personal. It resonates so strongly with so many people, and it is pure joy. Nemo, I'm glad you won, you deserved it, and I cannot wait to see what you do next. Please find some better shoes.
I'm down, down, and my feelings stay blue.
The entry that launched 1,000 soccer moms' Facebook posts. Starting off my top 5 is one of the most unique entries I think we've seen in a long time. Ireland with Bambi Thug and Doomsday Blue. This did worse than I expected and also somehow better than I expected. Coming in 6th in the grand final with 278 points. A fairly even split between 142 from the jury and 136 from the public vote. I want to just say starting off that Bambi is probably one of my favorite people of the competition this year. They are so cool. They really seem like one of those artists who isn't afraid to stand up for others. I am so proud of them, and I will never get over them giving their little, crown thingy to Nemo at the finals after they won. It was so cute. They just seem like the sweetest person. I am so happy to welcome them to the top 5. Okay, so Doomsday Blue is a weird song, but it's one of my favorites. This is the kind of new, interesting sound that I am here for. You probably heard me say a lot. Things like, this isn't new or memorable or groundbreaking. I like things that are new and memorable and groundbreaking, and this is definitely one of those things. It took a couple of listens for me to really get, but I think that's okay. Sometimes art shouldn't be easily understood, and it's okay for it to take a little bit of work. It's one of the most unique entries Eurovision has had in a long time. It straddles the line between dark pop, metal, and slam poetry. It goes from extremes of rage and grief to the softer, melancholy chorus that is deeply affecting and darkly magical. It's a very artistic entry that I don't think the general public was really ready for. But I'm glad more people were able to hear it through this competition because it really is a uniquely powerful song. 4 points. No shock there. It's great. This staging, y'all, oh my god. I was not ready. I don't think any of us were ready. When I watched this performance live during the semifinals, I had to take a few minutes to just sit with it. It is that fantastic and that powerful. It's more like watching a miniature play than a musical performance. The story here is so strong. It's this beautiful piece that can be interpreted a million different ways, but I saw it as a representation of rage against and grief over one's own sense of identity and the willpower it takes to eventually tame that demon. We start out with Bambi summoning this demon, played beautifully by Matt Williams, and they begin this dance of seduction and control, fighting each other for dominance until Bambi is eventually forced to exorcise the demon while wearing this. I cannot remember the last time I was moved so strongly by a performance, except for maybe my number 1. Every single thing about the staging is mind-blowingly spectacular. I especially love this part with the candles. Well done, lighting team. And this beautiful choreography in the middle. It's gentle, but with just this hint of violence. The makeup, the costuming, the choreo, everything about this is pure theater, and it is my favorite staging, possibly that I have ever seen in a Eurovision performance. It is art, plain and simple. A perfect 4 points. If I could give this more, I would in a heartbeat. I almost want to give it bonus points just for how much it pissed off so many conspiracy theorists on Facebook. The response to this one on Boomer social media gave us an extra round of entertainment that I, for one, could not get enough of. Strong staging requires a strong performance, and man, did they deliver. The performance is so theatrical. I am in love with the acting choices Bambi makes, the cries and the yells, and even this weird little laugh thing that happens at the very end. Coming from a theater background myself, this performance is just top-notch in every single way. Bambi flows through these emotions seamlessly, their voice is beautiful, and it's amazing how they can do so many extreme things with it and make it look so easy. Another 4 points for a perfect total of 12. The amount of work that went into this performance is truly incredible. Seriously, you should go find and watch some of the behind-the-scenes videos that Bambi did for this performance, and you will see they put so much into this. Also, if I could be friends with any of these performers, it would be Bambi. They are so cute, So cool. I just want to go roller skating with them. Probably another hot take, but I don't care. I am proud to place at number 4, Spain with Nebulosa and Zora. This song placed 22nd in the grand final with 30 points, 19 from the international jury and 11 from the televote. This is one of those I talked about in the beginning of the video where it doesn't get the highest technical score from me, but it placed really high in the top 10 just because I connect to it so strongly and I like it so much. I think this is one of the best songs to come out of the competition this year. It's timely, it's important, and I really do I can't say enough good things about this song. So, Zora is a song that I think suffered in the rankings because of the lyrics. Either people were offended by them, or they just didn't speak Spanish and didn't bother to look up the translation, so they didn't actually understand what the song was about. Because this is very much a song that lives and dies by its lyrics. So the word Zora translates literally in Spanish to vixen, but the actual closest translation is more akin to a promiscuous, low-class, or otherwise unlikable woman. From my understanding, as someone who does not speak Spanish, this is close to our English word for bitch or whore, but worse. And this song is an autobiographical story of an older woman who reclaims this slur that has been leveled at her whole life, and with it claims her own power. And it's not just the lyrics. The song itself tells this story beautifully. Mary Boss sings with this quiet, understated power that speaks for itself. She doesn't need to raise her voice because she knows her own power and she doesn't have to prove it to anyone. At several points throughout the song, she's singing over a chorus of male voices shouting the slur at her. But as the song goes on, that chorus of voices slowly morphs into a chorus of female voices shouting together in solidarity and sisterhood, and it's a beautiful transformation. It is one of the best, most timely feminist anthems I've heard in years, and the 80s synthwave sound doesn't hurt it in my eyes. It is truly a fantastic song that deserves to be widely heard and appreciated, and it's a perfect 4 points for me, if not more. I like some things about the staging. I love the colors, and Mary's outfit looks so beautiful on her. The entire stage design has this sort of dark, sexy kind of feel to it that I think fits the song very well, and I do like the choice to use these 2 male dancers to bring out this sort of unapologetic cougar vibe. The reason it lost points with me is just because I was so in love with the original music video. I wish it had leaned more into the story being told through that video, where Mary portrays a lounge singer who is being derided by the men who have come to see her perform. The women in the audience, however, who happen to all be similar in age to Mary, respond strongly to her, and eventually they all throw off their husbands and end up dancing together in this pure, unbridled feminine joy, and it's beautiful. That video is so filled with sisterhood and women supporting women, and I wish they'd leaned into that more instead. But it isn't bad staging at all. It's a great interpretation of the message. It's just a different interpretation from the one that I enjoyed. 3 points for staging. I do really like it a lot. This performance brings me so much joy. Me and my sister love this song, and when they started playing this one, we were screaming the lyrics, and what's great is most of the audience was right there with us. It's one of those entries where you can hear the entire audience singing with her, and I know that's not something the artist really has control over, but it's always going to win points for me to see the audience reacting strongly to a song. It's especially awesome hearing so many people in the audience screaming, "Zora, Zora, Zora," because those chants it's an important part of the song's structure and a part of its message. The song couldn't land or work without that live audience chant. And because of that, the audience becomes an active part of the song during this performance. I love that kind of thing. I think it's really cool when the audience is reacting this strongly and giving so much for the performer to work with. And Mary Boss is just so cool. She exudes matriarchal power and she just owns that stage. I love Ana Vila's energy. She is so cute. And look at Mark over here just grooving. You go, Mark. We love a supportive husband. A solid 3 for performance, bringing it to a total of 10. Truly, I love this song so much. It means so much to me. I even made a little Sora bracelet for my series of Eurovision bracelets that you can buy in my Etsy shop. It's actually downstairs somewhere. I really don't want to go downstairs and get it. I should have just brought it upstairs before I started filming this, but I'm tired. I'm not going to go downstairs and get it. Here it is. It's really cute, and you should go buy it. Except I kind of hope that you don't, though, because I really like it, and I already had to sell the cha-cha-cha bracelet that I made that I liked so much. So, but you should still go check it out, because Severus demands tribute in the form of Indoor Advantage cat food, and I'm not made of money. And speaking of cats, so before I get into this one, don't come for me. It fought really hard for that top spot. At number 3, we have, representing Croatia, the great hope of the people, Baby Lasagna with Rim Tim Tuggy Dim. This came in second in the grand final with 547 votes. 210 from the jury and 337 from the public televote, making this the People's Choice winner of Eurovision 2024. If you're coming from outside of the fandom, I can't begin to tell you the hype surrounding this song. The site EurovisionWorld.com has a section collecting all of the bookmakers' odds, and this was far and away the one. I imagine a lot of folks lost a lot of money on this one. 52% chance of winning according to that site, and the odds weren't much lower anywhere else I looked. Like, this was the one. After my top pick, this was the one I wanted to see take it all, and I definitely was not alone in that. It is actually impossible to rank this song any lower than a perfect 4. It's another great example of a fun song with a serious message that is just a total banger. It's got one of the catchiest hooks of any Eurovision entry to date. I do think it's definitely taking some notes from Cha Cha Cha, both in style and structure, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's definitely its own song with its own unique flair, and it stands on its own as one of my favorite Eurovision entries of all time. Just like the song, the staging is a fantastic mix of fun and goofy with a lot of heart and sincerity. It's all over the place in the best way. They absolutely knew their audience and what they wanted to see with the weird neon farm animals and the dancing cats. It's so much fun. But then we also have these traditional Croatian costumes with a little bit of edgy modernity. These dancers are so fun to watch. This entire thing is just so perfectly Eurovision. What else could this be but another perfect 4 points? It's also impossible to talk about this song without talking about the amazing audience reaction. That arena was set to explode. My living room was set to explode. The energy level and the audience reaction was just insane. And Marco is so good. His voice is already very powerful. He's got this nice rock growl, and he uses it to amazing effect live. I actually think this song sounds more electrifying live than the recorded version does. I mean, I love the recorded version, but you can't not be obsessed with the amount of love the audience shows this entry. And it is so well deserved. The energy on that stage and in the arena was just a beautiful thing to see. 4 points for a perfect 12. Marco, you're the winner in our hearts. I think you were just the kindest, most humble person. I adore you, and I hope this opens so many doors for you because you are so talented and you really deserve it. Here's my cat. He's meowing back. You say meow? Anything? One meow? Just a little one? Okay, well, he's meowing back in his heart. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, this is the one, y'all. This is the one that breaks me again and again. From the very first time I heard this song, I knew this was something special. The odds said Croatia, but I truly believed that this could have beaten those odds, and I stand by that. I knew from the beginning that this was the one to watch. I just had no idea how right I really was. This entry is the one that you probably heard the most about this year, whether you're involved in Eurovision or not. That's why I want to make it clear that it really stands on its own apart from all the drama and the controversy. This song and this artist is, without question, my winner. Representing the Netherlands, Joost Klein with Europapa. Europapa cleared the second semifinals with a total of 182 points. And there is really just no telling where it could have landed in the grand finals, but I know where it landed with me. Where to even start? I was actually sick the night before the finals, so I was already up all night long, and I decided to take the opportunity to refresh the news every 20 minutes after international voting was halted. And when I saw that Joost had been disqualified, I was just heartbroken, as I think many of us were. And not just because I just spent $20 voting for him. I will never forget the absolute chaos of that day leading up to the grand final online. It was insane and a very memorable first Eurovision experience for me. Now, I actually had a hard time rewatching the semifinals performance to take notes for this video because I'm gonna be honest, I can't get through it without crying. And I know that sounds dramatic, but I remember watching the second semifinals live and hearing the response in that arena for this song and for Joost. And me and my sister were just sitting on the couch sobbing out of sheer pride and joy for Joost and what he had managed to accomplish. All the love being shown this entry and the way it brought all of those people in the arena together. I mean, you could barely hear Joost over just these hundreds of people going, Uro papa papa papa. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment, and now with everything that's happened, it's truly just one of the most bittersweet performances of all time, and it's hard to watch. There are a lot of theories and a lot of opinions about what happened, and I certainly have my own theories and opinions on what happened, but I'm not going to talk about those here. Instead, I'm just going to say that this entry is everything I fell in love with about Eurovision, and it holds a very special place in my heart. Joost, I'm sure you know this already, but we are all so incredibly proud of you. It is amazing how you have turned such an unjust heartbreak into a way to grow as a performer and as an artist. And for that, you have the endless respect of me and so many others. You are truly an inspiration. I wish you all the best. I'm so glad to see that you seem to be doing well. We love you, Joost, and for me, at least, you will always be the undisputed winner of Eurovision 2024. How do we even begin to approach the masterpiece that is Europapa? First of all, this song is a banger and a half. It is incredibly fun, catchy, upbeat, quirky in all the right ways, and it's a heartbreaker. For those who don't already know, this song was written as a love letter to Joost's parents, and specifically his father, who both died when he was a child. It's the story of an orphan traveling around Europe trying to find himself, and eventually finding who he is in the friends he makes across the continent and the world. It's funny, it's sweet, it's sad, it is a roller coaster of emotion. This song is perfection. It breaks my heart every time. It's a masterpiece. What more can I say? This staging is absolutely wild in all the best ways. It leans so heavily into meme culture without ever feeling cringy or trite. It's funny and chaotic, but just like the song, it still hits all the proper emotional beats when it needs to. Like with this quick flash of one of Joost's old family photos of him and his parents. And we can't talk about this without mentioning that outro. I remember when the first sneak peeks of staging were coming out, this was the one I was most curious about because this was the one I wanted to win, and we hadn't seen any hint of what the staging might look like. And when those sneak peeks came out, all they showed of Europapa was a quick few seconds of the poem that serves as the outro of the music video, but isn't in the recorded version of the song. And I don't care if I get copyright struck. Instead of explaining it, I'm going to let Joost speak for himself here because this is his story to tell and no description could ever do it justice.
Aan het einde van de dag zijn we allemaal mensen. Mijn vader zei me ooit, het is een wereld zonder grenzen. Ik mis je elke dag, is wat ik stiekempjes fluister. Zie je nou wel, pa, ik heb naar je geluisterd.
Again, I don't know that I can even begin to sum up this performance. Joost has an almost manic stage presence that goes perfectly with the staging, and he knows it. And the audience knows it too, because the response is just explosive. And Joost's interaction with that energy just builds it up to a fever pitch until everyone is involved, and you're just right up there with him. I do not cry easily, and like I said before, I was in tears during the semifinals. I didn't even know why I was crying. Like, it's one of those things where you can't really explain it, you just know that you feel something. This made me feel something. This was the one, guys. This is what Eurovision is all about. Connecting people across the world through the universal language of music. It is one of the most deserving winners this competition has had in a very long time, and it is absolutely my winner. A full and perfect 12 points. Also, if you haven't heard any of Joost's other stuff, please go listen to it. Joost is an international treasure, and he just deserves the world. Okay, so editing Abby here. It was actually announced only a few hours ago that the Swedish prosecutor has dropped Joost's case. Basically meaning they could not find enough evidence that any wrongdoing occurred. So yeah, make of all of that what you will. I'm mostly just putting this in here because I thought it was really ironic that while I was editing this video, I got a little news update saying, oh yeah, they pretty much threw him out for no reason. So, wait a minute. Abby just said Erdo Papa was their winner. Was Erdo Papa number 2? Why is there still one spot left? Wait. Has Abby mentioned Finland? How did they forget Finland? That one was nuts. Wait. No. Wait. No! That's better. My best friend has a matching one. Hi, Jeff! Oh, I forgot about this. Here's Joost. Not what I was looking for. Ah. Wait, one more. My dear friends, I said Erdo Papa was my winner. I did not say that Erdo Papa was my number 1. No, I did not forget Finland. For those of you watching who are my friends or who know me from, like, Tumblr, I know that you were just waiting around for me to get to this entry right here so that you could laugh at me, and I am so sorry that I made you wait this long. It's about to pay off. You really have no idea how painful it was for me to not talk about this the entire video just so I could spring it on everyone at the end. It was physically painful. For all the rest of you, no, this is not a joke. This is not the punchline to a very, very long setup. I am 100% serious. And this tattoo is 100% real. Sorry, Mom. My number 1 entry for Eurovision 2024, and possibly my favorite Eurovision entry of all time, taking 19th place in the grand finals with 7 jury and 31 public votes for a total of 38 points, is none other than Finland's No Rules. Brought to us by the inimitable Windows 95 man and Henry Piespanen. Now, spoiler alert, this entry gets a perfect 12 points from me. The song is an absolute banger. It's 2 minutes and 56 seconds of self-satirizing Eurodance chaos, complete with eagle screeches and 90s synth. It's my ringtone. The staging, listen, if you give this staging anything less than a perfect score, you have no soul. It's magnificent. The performance, come on. Henry is a brilliant singer, and Teemu is, well, he's Teemu. He gets 12 points for just being Teemu. I mean, Teemu Kiesteri is one of the 2 cutest men alive. That's an actual scientific fact, and I just can't argue with science. But instead of a further point-by-point review of what makes this utter madness so brilliant and why it comes together so well, I'm going to do something a little bit different for this final entry. I'm going to tell you a story. It's not an especially long story, and don't worry, it's not one of those things where I had like a family member who tragically passed away and their final wish was to have no rules played at their funeral. It's nothing like that. But it is a personal story because this entry actually means kind of a lot to me. And I believe that when a piece of art speaks to you, there is never any shame in expressing that. Even and especially if that piece of art seems silly or lowbrow to most people. Just bear with me a little bit longer. So I'm an acting student, and every year my community college puts on a play for local school children. And this year I was cast as the lead. Now, the college is undergoing renovations, so we don't actually have a theater building at the moment, meaning the only way we could perform for these kids was to actually go to their schools. This also meant that we had to put together most of the set and take it down again in a different location every day. So for a whole week, I was up before dawn, traveling to these schools, putting up pipe and drape, setting up props and the scenery and all of this stuff, performing for another couple hours, and then striking for another couple of hours, and then going home. All while wearing a costume that had not been washed since rehearsals, so I was practically dead on my feet the whole week. Now, this was an outreach program, so the schools we were going to were severely underfunded. Extremely low income, very rough schools, very rough neighborhoods in a lot of cases. And I'm one of those people who is easily affected by that kind of thing. And I knew what I was getting into, but I still had a hard time processing a lot of the things that I saw there. These schools were falling apart. There's armed security everywhere giving us a hard time. The teachers looked so tired and so defeated, and so did the kids, and I often wondered just how much they were actually getting out of the whole thing. And every day I went home exhausted and aching and just feeling completely powerless to change the system and feeling like I'm just wasting my time and wasting my life. I mean, what was I doing getting on a stage and goofing off for an hour when a lot of these kids didn't have enough food at home or didn't have clothes that fit, when their teachers were underpaid and their school couldn't provide for them, and there's armed security guards everywhere because we can't even know that they're safe? What was that accomplishing for us to stand on a stage for an hour and tell a story that most of them probably didn't even understand? And why was I wasting my time when the world is so broken and there are so many more important things? I held it together for the run because I didn't really have much of a choice, but after it was over, I became just incredibly depressed. I had no appetite, I couldn't get out of bed, I could barely function. I felt powerless and hopeless and just lost amid all of these huge societal problems that I was powerless to do anything about. And then one day, while I was doom scrolling on TikTok because I couldn't get out of bed, I saw the clip of Windows 95 Man performing at UMK, and I thought, oh my god, what is this? This is insane. I have to learn more about this immediately, and that was how I discovered Eurovision. So the story isn't over. That's not the story. But Windows 95 Man is actually how I got into Eurovision. And that did give me something to enjoy and look forward to, even if just for a little while, but I was still incredibly depressed. And then all the drama and the controversy and the nightmare of this year's competition happened. And it was like, oh great, the existential crisis found me in my new hobby too. That's great. And it all just came crashing back, that the world is falling apart around me and everyone hates each other and I am just one person and I cannot do anything about it. And by the time the finals came around, the tension was at its worst. Everyone was at each other's throats. Even the online Eurovision community was just imploding. We were heartbroken over the way some of these artists were being treated. We were scared of the outcome and of what that outcome might signify, because we knew that outside forces played a bigger hand in this year's competition than they probably ever had before. It was just a mess, and it wasn't really fun anymore. And then, this man hatched out of a giant denim egg wearing a thong. And for 3 minutes, everyone stopped fighting. No matter what flag you were waving, no matter your race or religion or nationality or political opinions, you were glued to that stage. And you were either laughing with the person beside you, or you had your heads together trying to figure out what in the name of hell was going on. Because everyone else was just as baffled as you were. For 3 minutes, we all watched this absolute madman run around on stage with no pants on, while another madman encouraged total anarchy. And you know what? We weren't crying. We weren't scared or angry or thinking about all the things we couldn't change. We were laughing with the people beside us. And not only that, we were able to enjoy it because this entry wasn't a threat to anyone's win. And in a competition where the winner means something, that mattered. And we needed that. The world needed that. And for 3 minutes, we just got to laugh with the people beside us. Now, those 3 minutes might not have meant much to most people. I think most people kind of watched it, laughed at it, and moved on. But they really meant the world to me. Because Teemu and Henry made me remember the way I felt when those kids in my audience laughed. And how fulfilling it was to see them smile and to realize that me and my fellow performers had given them that. That we managed to make them smile for just a little bit. For a lot of those kids, it was the first and only time they've ever seen a live play. And I remembered that in those moments, I wasn't thinking about how much I hurt or how long I'd been awake or all the things in the world that I couldn't change. I was focused on giving those kids the best performance that I could give them and to see them smile, because that's what I was there to do. I'm there for them. I'm there to make them smile. That's my only job. Teemu said something regarding this performance that really just solidified his place in my heart. I'm going to try and find I think it might have been a TikTok video or an interview that he did. I'm going to try and find it and edit it in here. But if I can't find it, he said, "I do what I'm best at, being the happy and silly me. My show gives people joy, and that's important right now." And he was right. It is incredibly important for people to laugh together because laughter is healing and it's unifying. And for 3 minutes, Henry and Teemu and their hardworking stage crew gave us that. Teemu and Henry and their team knew this was never going to win. It's honestly a miracle it even got this far. I remember when it passed the first semifinals, I fell on the floor. I was so shocked and so happy. But they gave it their all anyway. Every performance was an improvement on the one before. I'm going to try and find a link to the comparison video someone made and edit that in here because it's really amazing. The vocals got better, the choreo got sharper, the energy got stronger. I also want to give a quick shout out to their dancers, whose names I cannot find, and to their backing vocalists, Jeppe Lambert and Terry Montere. They worked tirelessly to do the best job that they possibly could, and it really shows. Because honestly, if you watch this performance, you will see it looks crazy, but it's actually very technically challenging. I mean, we have a costume change, we have handheld pyrotechnics, there's a lot going on. But anyway, these two came to this competition to do nothing else but to make people smile for as long as they possibly could. And that, to me, is the most inspiring thing in the world. We as performers may not be able to change the way the world works. We can't stop wars or topple oppressive governments or end racism or raise kids out of poverty. But we can make people smile. We can bring people together for an hour or even for 3 minutes. And we can give them a little bit of happiness. And we don't know how much someone in that audience might need that. Bringing people together to feel something together is the most important thing a performer can accomplish. And while all of the artists this year did this and did it beautifully, in this obnoxious American's humble opinion, none of them did it better than Teemu Kiesteri and Henry Piespanen. They really did unite us through music, and more importantly, they united us through laughter. And that is why No Rules is my #1 Eurovision entry of 2024, if not ever. These two madmen are my heroes. Teemu especially. Kiitos, Teemu ja Henry. We are so incredibly proud of you. You did exactly what you set out to do, and I hope you know how much joy you have brought so many people. Paljon onnea. I just realized I did that entire segment sitting too far forwards, so you couldn't actually see my my custom No Rules shirt. I actually made this shirt, and you couldn't even see it. That's okay, you can see it now. And thus concludes my review of Eurovision 2024. If you somehow made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This one took forever, and clearly I am exhausted. Your support and encouragement really does mean a lot. It's crazy to me that I just get to talk about things I like and people listen to it. That's insane. I really do appreciate all of you so much. Please go support all of these artists. They really do deserve it, even the ones I gave terrible scores to. I think they all did better than I could do, and I wish them the best. And speaking of supporting artists, I have an Etsy shop where I sell stuff based on things I like. Windows 95 Man is coming to America in January, but he is coming nowhere near me. And I am absolutely desperate to go see him. So if you would like to help me afford a plane ticket and a hotel room and a heart transplant so that I can actually be in the same room as this perfect human being for an hour, please go buy a shirt. I need him to sign my tattoo so that I can get that tattooed because I'm insane and I make poor life choices. Anyway, I love you all very much. Please be kind to each other. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. I have to go grab Sev so I can do the little thing. Hold on. Severus! Where are you at? He's mad because I woke him up. Here's my cat. I can do this.